Throwdown Nation, we are live. It is a Tuesday night. We are streaming on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. All systems are go, and we are here with episode 38 of the Throwdown with Matt. And tonight it is my pleasure to have with me as my special guest, wrestler and podcaster Chris Carnage. How you doing tonight, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely, man. Something I would like to point out to everybody, and I'll repeat this over the course of this. But any questions or comments that you guys have, please put them in the chat. And at the end, all questions and comments will be read and answered. We're going to do a little viewer QA session at the very end of things tonight. So we'll go ahead and get started, and we're going to start with the first and most obvious question, Chris, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
I originally got in 2006, fully completed my training in 2007, wrestled for a number of years up until about 2014 when I broke my back, and then came back earlier this year, and now I'm back on the trail.
Nice, nice. So who initially trained you?
I started my training with AJ Galan at FXE in Orlando before everything happened with FXE. Finished up with Tommy Taylor of FIP. Then again, worked around for a while till my back. And then when I came back, I have a very good friend named Alex Zane of New Japan, who I was able to use his ring to kind of knock the rust off and get back into things.
The Sauce.
The Sauce himself.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. He is actually one of my favorites over in New Japan. So
yeah, great guy.
Seems like it. So if you don't mind my asking, what happened with your back? How did that take place?
So it was a culmination of things over a period of about a year that started with a power bomb off the top rope through two open chairs that ended up at the end of everything. I had two twisted vertebrae, another one that was wedged. I found out I had bone spurs up and down my spine, and among many other issues, and a pinch sciatic that put me on the shelf for a while. It took me about 3 years to fully recover. But by that point, I also was having kids. So I was like, oh, nice, slower life, probably be good.
Yeah, absolutely. So speed round. Carmelo Hayes.
Talented. Very talented.
Yep. So, I'm fully aware that that training is an ongoing, lifelong thing. But as far as your initial wrestling training, what would you say was the most challenging part?
Cardio. So when it comes to in-ring cardio, there is nothing that's going to prep you for in-ring cardio than being in the ring. No matter how much you run, no matter how much you're on the exercise bike or on the treadmill, it is never enough until you're actually in that ring. And I even did a little bit of training this past weekend, spent 5 hours in the ring, and still feel like my cardio is not where it needs to be.
I get that. Yeah. Several years ago, for a number of years, I actually trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And,
nice.
There is no better full body workout than grappling with somebody. I mean,
absolutely.
Talk about getting a wake up call on your cardio. I mean,
yeah.
Absolutely. That was something that I always definitely struggled with while I was training. So.
Oh yeah, it'll get you. I tell you, because I still remember. I think it was my second or third match back this year. I started just trying to get at it and trying to have a nice match, and I was blowing up within 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, we gotta work on this a little more.
Yep. So, have you been a fan of this stuff pretty much all of your life? And if so, what is your earliest wrestling related memory?
Oh my goodness. I was but a wee lad in the golden era of professional wrestling with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and Bret Hart coming out onto the scene and Shawn Michaels and into the Attitude Era. So I've watched wrestling all my life, but my earliest memory was always Hulk Hogan. I actually, about 8 feet from me, have an old early 90s Hulk Hogan plush that I cannot get rid of because it was just so monumental because of how over the top he was.
Nice. Yeah, I've been a fan, varying levels of fandom over the course of my life, but I've been a fan since I was around 11, and I just turned 55 a few weeks ago. So, I grew up in the territory days, saw the Monday Night Wars start to finish, the rise and fall of ECW, and right now is actually one of the most exciting times to be a fan. There is just so much cool stuff taking place.
Oh, absolutely.
Both in the major companies as well as the indies. Independent wrestling is really putting out some great product these days. So
I 100% agree with that. And when you see a lot of these guys, the amount of work they put in, and I feel like we've had nothing but just an expanding smorgasbord of just content and talent to be able to pull off of. And guys have really stepped it up and really have taken professional wrestling to another level.
Completely agree. But yeah, my earliest wrestling memory was, as an 11-year-old kid in Florida, actually watching Florida Championship Wrestling back in the day with Gordon Soley as the commentator.
Yeah.
And my earliest story arc that I remember was Dusty Rhodes and Kevin Sullivan.
Oh, man.
When Sullivan had the whole satanic panic thing going on.
Oh, yeah.
With the purple haze, Mark Lewin, and great stuff, and really cool memories. Rest in peace, Kevin Sullivan.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Dusty too. It's an
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Too many greats gone before their time.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And the influence that they've had on the industry is just profound.
Oh, for sure. Immeasurable.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point, as a fan, did you look at the TV and say, you know what, I think I can do that?
It's it's funny because I always point to one singular moment of watching WWE, and if I remember correctly, it was SmackDown. And this is like 2000, 2001, when they had the feud. It was a Buried Alive match between, I want to say, Triple H and Undertaker. All I remember is Stone Cold took Triple H as he popped out of the back of the ambulance, took Triple H, put him in the back of the ambulance, parked it in front of a dumpster, and ran a semi into it. And I don't know why, but that moment to me was just like, this is so amazing. And I think I want to do this.
That's awesome. And it's cool that you remember the exact moment that the switch flipped.
Yep. Because that, to me, I was just in awe. And that's also what made me like, I was forever, like, obviously I watched Stone Cold through the Attitude Era, but it was just, I don't know, that just did it. And at that point I was, just a teenager and was like, no, I gotta do this at some point.
Speed round. Kenny Omega.
Oh, one of the best indie stars of the past 15 years.
For sure, without a doubt. I'm actually hearing that he's healing up pretty well after the diverticulitis surgery, and could be coming back within the next 3 or 4 months. They're saying.
Yeah, hopefully. Watch out for that comeback. I tell you, that's going to be a pop.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. So, away from wrestling itself, what are some of your hobbies and interests? I know you do some podcasting and streaming and such. Tell us about that.
So I originally, like, outside of wrestling and any other stuff, I did get heavy into podcasting back starting in 2017. Founded a company in 2018, Podcast City Network. We went for 5 years, had a bunch of shows. I had my sports podcast. I had an interview podcast, plus all the other shows that we had. And that was some amazing fun. Made appearances at a Podfest and things like that. It was just phenomenal. But, things happen, shifted course from there and got more into streaming, and now stream on Twitch and Kick on the regular.
Nice, nice. So do you, besides all of that, do you have any actual hobbies or interests that you just engage in?
So there are two that really stick
Okay.
out. One is professional football,
Okay.
and college football. I am a football nut. I played, coached, all that through high school and a little bit of college, and it was amazing. Of course, I had to step away. At one point, I was wrestling and playing football at the same time, which I do not suggest doing that. But it was amazing though, and eventually I stepped away from football, but just because my body couldn't withstand that. Which is funny to say when you think that, oh, well, we're gonna go to wrestling instead, but football forever will be in my blood, and I am forever a uber fan of football. Another one though is music. I've always loved music, namely metal, power metal, thrash metal, all that good stuff. And I've done a lot of work with the former Deland Rock and Metal Festival, as well as the currently running Mad with Power Festival up in Wisconsin. And it's been just so amazing. And I've met so many amazing people, very supportive people, and have been able to be involved in communities within music that are just some of the best people I've ever met.
Awesome. So is wrestling anything approaching a full-time thing for you, or do you have a air quotes day job?
I do have a day job. Yes. Many guys do these days, but
Right.
I would love to make it full time. However, with where I'm at in life, it may not happen. It's just hard to devote that kind of time, especially with age and where my body's at. Pretty much
Right.
nowadays, I work wherever, but it's mainly contained to Riot Pro Wrestling out of Daytona, and of course Pro Wrestling Rebellion, my promotion. So it's really fun, and I'd like to do more. And I am picking bookings up left and right. I've most recently worked IWF Tennessee. I'll possibly be working DCCW later this year. So a lot of things that are in the works.
Awesome. Awesome. Speed round. Arn Anderson.
Oh, the Enforcer, the absolute best.
Mm-hmm.
Best spine buster in wrestling.
Absolutely. I was fixing to say king of the spine buster.
And just to throw it out there, I saw a clip the other day, and I totally forgot about it until I saw it, of him giving a spine buster to Undertaker at WrestleMania 18. That was still just Arn Anderson amazing. And that guy, I tell you, amazing.
Absolutely. And I do feel to some extent like Arn never quite got the due he deserved.
Absolutely agree.
I would have liked to have seen him, really get a run with the title.
I feel like with the kind of work he put in all across wrestling, whether it was WWF at the time or WCW or whatever the case may be, he was always a businessman, and he always did what was best for business, and he didn't care what had to be done for it to be what needed to be done. And I felt they could have given him more than what they did.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Just a reminder to everybody that's watching this, if you have questions or comments, put them in the chat, and we will do a little Q&A at the end. So Chris, what is your actual hometown?
I'm originally from DeLand, Florida. A nice little town, little quaint town that somehow got voted best downtown in America 2 years in a row. But
that's cool.
Wonderful place, home of Stetson University, and real big college town. And it's like small but big. I don't know. It's that nice dynamic where it's not fully a city, but it has that nice hometown feel.
Gotcha. So what would you say is your favorite thing about DeLand?
The community. Honestly, you have DeLand that runs all kinds of events in their downtown area, whether it be art walks, pet walks, all kinds of different exposés. They do music festivals, all kinds of things that really try and bring the community out and bring the community together.
Sounds really nice, actually. It really does. That's really cool. So, they say the best wrestling personas are yourself turned up to 11.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a bit about in-ring Chris Carnage and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you.
Chris Carnage is literally the megaphone turned up to 11. In-ring persona is very calculating, very technical, very exact, but within that too will bring the brute strength and the chaos as needed. I mean, called Chris Carnage for a reason, because I am that guy and I am that good. So I go out there and show that match after match, show after show. But out of ring Chris Carnage, in my everyday persona, I'm literally one of the happiest people you could meet. I'm so approachable and easy to talk to, just like Chris Carnage can be when he chooses to be. But it's kind of funny how it's kind of a stark contrast, because I have a real competitive side to myself that many don't see unless I am in the ring.
Gotcha. So tell us about your very first match. What was it like? How did it go? What were your thoughts coming into it and your thoughts coming out of it? All that good stuff.
Oh, my very first match was against an individual called Shane Evans. And I remember to this day, it was just a one-on-one match. Wasn't very long. Was just more getting me used to being in a ring in a match in front of people, and it didn't go that bad. It only lasted, I think, maybe 5 minutes. So I definitely did the job. But he took care of me, and from there, he asked me, "Oh, what'd you think?" I'm like, "I want to do it again, and again, and again, and again." Until there was nothing left, because it just made me fall in love more.
Right answer. Do it again and again and again. Reps, reps, reps.
That's right. Practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. So, we've heard about your first match. Now tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
Favorite match that I've been a part of. Honestly, I think just because of the setting, the people that were there, how hot the crowd was. My return match this past May against an individual named Ace Wired. He was one heck of an opponent, but there was something magical about it, and everything went right, and everything just was beautiful about it, and it was definitely one of the more touching moments of my wrestling career, to be able to come back, because I came into that match thinking this is just a retirement match. This is just me having my swan song, because I never got to have that. And next thing I know, people are telling me it was the best match they had seen in years, and I had people approaching me about bookings, and I was like, you know what? Let's do this. We're gonna do it again. And that
Awesome.
lit a fire under me that I can't describe.
I love hearing stories like that. One of the reasons doing these that I've really been focusing on the indies is I love helping to tell the story of people chasing a dream,
Oh.
and it is just so cool hearing about the comebacks and the ups and downs of life on the indies and all of that, so it's really an honor to be a small part of telling these stories. So
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's what all wrestling is, man. Telling great stories, right? And it's just crazy that I get to live it, because at one point in my life, I had in my mind hung up the boots and was done and was not going to come back. And things happen in life, and it happens when you least expect it, I feel
Yep.
like. So for that opportunity to come up and to be able to have the friends close to me to help me get back in the ring, and it's like I fell in love all over again.
Yep. You thought you were done and God had other plans.
That's right.
Speed round. Kyle O'Reilly.
What was it again? I'm sorry.
Speed round. Kyle O'Reilly.
Kyle O'Reilly. Interesting individual.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Let's see here. So, what percentage of matches that you have been in would you say you've largely worked out with your opponent in the back, and what percentage have you actually called in the ring? And do you have a preference between the two different approaches to doing a match?
Oh, for me, I prefer to plan because, in my opinion, I feel like it keeps you safer, just because you know what to expect. However, some guys have trouble remembering, and I have been victim of that as well. So I mean, it kind of goes back and forth. Kind of depends on who I'm working. I can do either. Um, it really also depends on what kind of match you're trying to put on. If you want me to have a 5-star WrestleMania quality match, I'm gonna have to put a little planning into it. But if we're just trying to put over an angle, it's not gonna necessarily be necessary to plan it all out. A lot of stuff can be called in ring, but I know there's a lot of different schools of thinking, whether you're an old school kind of guy or more of the new age wave. But I don't know. I've always felt kind of multi-use there. I can do either and really don't even have a preference.
Gotcha. And I don't know that this necessarily applies to you, but I'll ask it anyway, just because it's just kind of an interesting question.
Mhm.
And that is, if you've worked in other countries or cultures, how do you handle language barriers when interacting with fans or even your opponent?
So I haven't had to deal with that necessarily. Anybody I knew that did originate from another country typically came here and were bilingual. So I never really ran into that. However, I have asked guys about this before, and I've gotten mixed answers. But one that I always thought was interesting was friends of mine that had went and worked Japan. Was that a lot of them really rely on Google Translate.
Yeah.
But with how especially the Japanese culture is, they're really centered around respect and honor.
Right.
So with that, they were able to portray a lot, I feel like, through body language, and you get the gist of what they're going for. So I know I even have 2 friends of mine over there currently that just went over there to wrestle, and just said it was amazing interacting with the people. Even though language barrier, they still found ways and still understood.
Oh yeah, and when it comes down to it, wrestling is a universal language anyway.
Exactly.
So if you could only be one, would you rather be great in the ring or great on the mic?
Ooh. Honestly, great in the ring because I can always get a manager.
Yeah. You can always get a mouthpiece.
Exactly. Can't always have someone going in and wrestle for you. So that,
Yep.
and I felt like, with how I learned to wrestle, I was one of the first things they always taught me was you're telling a story through physicality, and you have to be able to portray that without saying anything. So I feel being able to be a good in-ring worker is a little more important than working the mic, because there's some guys who can't work the mic but put on quality matches. But the reverse is true too. So
Very true. Very true. Speed round. Jake Roberts.
another interesting individual.
For sure.
Yeah,
He's had quite the life.
but honestly, hope. I got to say hope for that, just because he's battled through demons and been able to come out the other side, and you can't say that about every guy that's walked into this industry.
Very true. Very true. The documentary, the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts, was
Mm-hmm.
very well done, and really went, in depth on his relationship with DDP, and
Yeah, the diamond
uh
dozen.
yeah, man. Uh DDP has done a lot of good for a lot of people.
Oh,
I
it's been
mean,
amazing to watch.
yeah, yeah, his post in-ring career has been even more meaningful than his time in the ring. I mean,
I'd have to agree. Absolutely, especially because everything he's been able to do through DDP yoga, and I know he kind of started out just doing it for himself to better his own body, but found that it could help so many others. And when you look at guys like Jake the Snake Roberts and of course Scott Hall and just all these guys who've been able, Chris Jericho even still does DDP yoga on the regular as part of his workout regimen. It's just been
right.
amazing to see what he's been able to do for guys who kind of got laid by the wayside because that's just what happens.
It does. It does. You know, something I would like to point out about Jake Roberts. I love that man's promos because he would rarely raise his voice. He would just very quietly tell you what he was going to do to you and project menace through just quiet and calm. You know, and in many ways that's scarier than a guy with his veins popping out, foaming at the mouth, ranting and raving.
And
You know,
I feel like you see so many of those guys that are like ranters and ravers, but Jake the Snake, he quieted down, so you had to listen, and it
yeah.
has so much more impact.
Mm-hmm. And somebody that I feel really took a lot of that type of promo, you know, after Jake was Raven.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Raven,
they
definitely a
say,
very unsung hero.
yeah, oh, for sure, for sure. And you know, they say fear the quiet ones. I mean,
Absolutely.
so what has been your strangest encounter with a fan?
I've had a couple. I definitely have had a couple.
Who hasn't, right?
Yeah, and it's like I'm trying to like file through the list right now, like what's PG, what's like, because there's been some interesting encounters, you know. These,
Oh,
these
no
blue
doubt.
eyes aren't pretty for nothing. So no, I've had advances from women. I've had people be very jovial to the point of wanting to be more personal with you than you're willing to be, and it's you try to be nice about it, but it's they you get some of those fans that get caught up in the aura and they feel like they know you, and it's like, hey, like I'm appreciate you're a fan, but 3 feet. Like,
Yeah.
so it can be a little daunting at times because you don't know what to expect from people, and in my opinion, people are always capable of anything at any time. So it's really crazy. But I don't know if I had to narrow it down, I guess, to a singular moment, though. I've had some women really creep me out before.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of leave it at that. Leave it up to the
Yeah.
imagination.
Yeah, you guys run with that one.
So, do you have a preference yourself between working heel or babyface?
I mean, I do whatever the job calls for, but if I had to choose, I mean, working babyface is nice, but I feel I'm always at my tip top best if I'm able to work heel, just because I feel I can show so much more. Because being face, it's, you know, you go out, it's like, oh, you smile, they cheer, you wave a little, kiss a baby maybe, and you know you're good. But I always love just and maybe it's just from like I always studied a lot of Triple H and how he approached his character with being a cerebral assassin and things of that nature, being the game, where, you know, I wanted to, in my heel work, be that tactical assassin. I wanted to be that guy that you're going to boo me because you're going to see what I'm going to do to this guy. And I just always love doing it. It just flowed so easy for me.
Yeah. You know, I've said this before. As a fan, I've always found myself gravitating more toward the heels, simply because I just find that they're usually more compelling characters. I mean,
Definitely.
You know, I like sort of digging into the backstory and the why they are the way they are, because usually they're not a heel just to be a heel. There's a reason why they are how they are. So
exactly,
and
because the face is so easy. It's just like, oh, hi, I'm
yeah,
likable.
yeah, I'm you know, Willie Whitebread. I mean, you know, and it's just, you know, okay, why are you a white meat heel? I mean, what am I saying? A white meat baby face,
Right.
You know, and usually there's really not a reason. They just are, you know.
Exactly.
But a heel, there's all kinds of psychology that you can get into with that. But anyway.
Oh, exactly. So much more depth.
Oh, for sure. So, can you give an example of a time when you had to completely improvise during a match? And I know it happens more than any of us really know.
So, as if anybody can see there, oh, sorry, this side, there is a little bit of injury I'm dealing with right now. This is probably the most recent case I've had to deal with this, but I was recently working a 6-man tag match up in Pittsburgh and was doing a spot where I ended up getting kicked in the eye. Now, I ended up, my eye is fine, but I did end up suffering a fractured eye socket and lost my vision for a couple of hours. And this is all during the match. And we went through the first sequence of guys. I came in next and was in 30 seconds and boom, hit in the eye. So the whole match had to be basically improvised from there. People wanted to stop the match. I told them no. Of course, I did not have any idea. I fractured my eye socket, but I didn't want to let the fans down, and I didn't want to let my team down. So I regained myself. It took me a few minutes. They improvised, kept things going until I was able to get back in there. And with one eye, I went back in. We were able to do the finishing sequence, and we took it home.
Gotcha. That's quite a story. I mean, that's the show must go on, but wow,
Exactly.
that's carrying it to a whole different level when you're doing it with one eye.
And I even hit my finisher somehow and all that. So hey, we made it somewhere, I guess.
That is truly awesome. Truly awesome. So in terms of your in-ring work and your promos, who or what would you say are some of your influences? And it can be wrestlers, it can be pop culture, any of that. Who has helped shape Chris Carnage into who and what he is?
Honestly, a lot of it boiled down to 3 guys: Triple H, Brock Lesnar, and Kurt Angle. A lot of my wrestling, in ring, and as well as the persona, the promo work, all of it really stems from those 3. And it was at a time where I started really hammering down to try and figure out what I was going to be in ring, and it always came back to those guys. The cerebralness, the assassin like mentality of Triple H, the brute force and physicality of Brock Lesnar, the technical ability and mat skill of Kurt Angle, and it all just fused together, and all of them brought something to the table, whether it be their in-ring work or the promo work. That all shines through in my work.
Gotcha. Speed round. Chris Bay.
Yet another Chris.
Yeah.
There's more Chris's in wrestling than we need.
There are. There actually are a ton of Chris's.
And you know what? It's even funny. In my day-to-day life, I know more Chris's than anybody else, and it's hilarious.
So, do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? A match that you can have watched it a million times and it just doesn't get old, and there's always some new little nugget you can glean from it.
Man, narrow it down to one.
Yeah, I was going to say it's hard to narrow it down sometimes because there are so many great ones.
There really is, and I typically gravitate back to WrestleMania 3 between Macho and Ricky the Dragon. That one always stood out heavily in my mind, especially for the time and what it was to wrestling. But I feel like with story and how important it was at a pivotal time in the industry, I also go back to WrestleMania 17, Rock versus Stone Cold, and the biggest turn heard around the world. That match was at a time where WCW had just been purchased. The Monday Night Wars were officially over, and we were going into a new era of unchallenged wrestling with WWE. So it was very important, and that really set the stage too for what was to come over the course of the next year.
Absolutely. One of my favorites, and I would say this is in my top 3, is WrestleMania 20, the 3-way between Hunter, Shawn, and Chris Benoit.
Fantastic
I
match.
mean, that was just a master class, and the conclusion with Benoit and Eddie in the ring embracing after they each had won their title, and in retrospect, it's just so sad. You know,
It
the
really
way
is.
there's really, you know, I can say to this day, I'm still a huge fan of the in-ring work of Chris Benoit.
$100%.
I can separate his resume of work from how the man ended up, and I still think he is one of the best to ever do it.
Absolutely
Um,
agree.
but you know, it's just a shame how it all ended up playing out.
I mean,
So,
the people in the ring are different from the people outside the ring, and
oh, for
it's
sure.
sad, but I agree. I feel like Chris Benoit was absolutely amazing, but again, he did what he did, so
Yeah,
it sucks because there's a lot of people that can't make that distinction between the two. But
right.
no, his in-ring work is forever going to be amazing.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, and this can be present day or past. Who would be a dream opponent for you? Who would Chris Carnage love to work?
Oh my goodness. Oh, so many names run through my head. But honestly, I feel like just because of how good the match could be, and I think what I could do, I need early 2000 AJ Styles. I feel like that
Ooh,
would just be money.
oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, that's. I can. The wheels are turning.
Oh
You
yeah,
know.
right.
I mean, yeah, if you could turn back time and.
Yeah, give me like 04, 05 AJ Styles in his prime, and I'll tell you, we will put on a 6-star match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can. Wow. Yeah. So let's see here. Speed round. Bruiser Brody.
Bruiser Brody. Hmm. Gosh. Gosh is the first thing that comes to mind,
Yeah.
actually. Oh, there's so much that comes with that. Oh,
Yeah.
there's so much that comes with that. No, man. It sorry, it's a lot.
Oh,
It's
I
a
know. I
lot.
know.
No, Bruiser Brody, he was something else. He was very, very unique. I think that'd probably be the best way to describe him.
Yeah,
Very, very
for
unique.
sure.
Um, especially Mass Marauder and Red River Jack, all the little personas he had,
Mm-hmm.
but all of it was the stemming of the same thing, really. Like it was crazy. It was very, very unique.
For sure. For sure. He was one of the more unique personalities
Mm-hmm.
in from the territory days. I mean, you
100%.
know, I mean, really. I mean, there were. Don't get me wrong. There were a lot of great wrestlers, but he was one of the ones that really and truly was larger than life. I mean,
He lived it.
yeah,
Like that was his life, and you've seen guys like that, like Ultimate Warrior and stuff like that, but it's like it was him.
for sure, for sure. So, and I ask this to everybody, and it's just kind of a funny question. But what hurts right now,
Oof. Our the
or what doesn't hurt?
well, yeah, what doesn't hurt? Probably the better question. No, the eye doesn't hurt anymore. Thank goodness. Eyesight is back. I can't fully put pressure in certain parts of my face without causing pain to the fracture. Outside of that, my back. I did a lot of bumping around this past Saturday just to help teach guys how to back bump, and yeah, I'm feeling a little sore. Took more back bumps than I normally would.
No doubt, no doubt. So, what are your thoughts in general on the current state of the industry?
Honestly, the industry has nowhere but up to go from here, I feel like. And a lot of that comes down to Vince McMahon no longer being in WWE. And to some
Hmm.
people, that sounds controversial, I guess. But honestly, given everything he's done and the way he became so out of touch with the current day product and what fans were looking for, it was something I was worried was never going to happen, but it did. And I feel Triple H and The Rock are coming together to really put something truly magical out there with WWE at this time. And on top of it, they actually have competition. And I think
Yep.
competition spurs greatness. It spurs innovation. So AEW being there, no matter what people think about it one way or the other, I feel is good to have there as the counterpart to WWE. So I feel from here, everything just goes up.
Absolutely. And I'm really digging the current regime in WWE's willingness to actually do some collaboration with some of the other
Yes.
companies, like this crossover between NXT and TNA.
Oh, that has been
That
magic.
that has been such a cool thing, and you really have the sense for the first time in forever that just about anything is possible. you know
Absolutely. We got Joe
And-
Hendry in NXT. Come
I
on.
know, I know. I mean, and also the irony is not lost on me that essentially you've got the two main guys from DX running the company now, Hunter and Sean. I mean, who
who,
would
who
have thought?
who literally turned around and recreated the presidential address promo recently.
Right.
Like that
Oh yeah.
is so
I
good.
mean, yeah.
But
And
no, they're doing wonderful things.
oh, they are. They are. Absolutely. I mean, and, talk about a company that, for the most part, is really hitting on all cylinders right now. I mean, creatively and with the good creative, the in ring is getting more exciting and more innovative as well.
Well,
And
that
it's
one thing I've read a lot about is just the not even with all that too. The backstage environment is different. With Vince gone, a lot of people feel like they have more freedom when it comes to trying to bring forth an idea that could be something good for their character, or good for an angle, or even good for business. Commentary having the shackles taken off them, so they
yeah,
can be more free to
not
express
having Vince
themselves.
barking in their ear.
Exactly. You can actually use the term wrestler again and have
Oh
guys like
yeah.
Pat McAfee be Pat McAfee. And
Hmm.
it's just a totally different environment now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what is your take on the role that social media is playing as a promotional tool in wrestling?
It's becoming something that is a must. Social media has become so ingrained in people's lives at this point. No matter which aspect of it you use, it is used by everybody, whether it be the Facebook, X, Instagram, whatever the case. It's being used. So to capitalize on that and use it to get yourself out there is integral anymore. So wrestling, and I see WWE do this all the time, especially on Facebook, where you're seeing the constant reels and the snippets and the things that just try and tug you in. And it works. It draws fans, but given how integrated everybody is, you have to have it. No
Oh,
way
for
around it.
sure. For sure. And, that's how I happened upon you. I mean, it's all good, man. So, they say that the best wrestling storylines and such, you've got you've got the persona, and then you've got the arch nemesis.
Mhm.
Does Chris Carnage have an arch nemesis that you would like to talk about? Somebody that you've got
Uh,
history with that could that you would say is, for to put it in literary terms, your foil.
oh, the foil, the thorn in my side is what
Yeah,
I prefer to call him, but that would be currently the entitled millennial Forrest Nystrom, who's been going on and on because he somehow got a fluke pinfall victory on me at a CWA event. And
really.
let's be honest, it's because of a crooked ref. So I do question that ref's credentials, and that's something we'll address as time goes on, because the front office of CWA is going to have to deal with that. But either way, I have exacted my revenge upon this individual, having pinned him at Eustace Palooza at Riot Pro Wrestling in June, and then taking him out in a hardcore invitational for the new hardcore title at Riot. So at the end of the day, he tries to act like he is some big man because he beat me one time. Come on, brother. We know where the record's at.
So Oh, wait a second. Something's going on here.
How are you going to talk about arch nemesis and yet you're not even going to mention me for it's not the entitled millennial Nystrom? Like, you're going to come on this podcast and just run your mouth. I'm just tired of listening to it. Like,
Oh, this guy.
arch nemesis and not even mention my name. Like, sir,
Oh, you were mentioned. It's just you're a cliff note because you got one pinfall. Come on,
One-
sir.
I have one or not. I have one.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, people talk about 21-1 with The Undertaker, but you know what? Everybody still remembers all the 21 other dudes.
That what? That one. And guess what? Who was his one? That was Lesnar. I'm your one. Doesn't matter. You could go on a winning streak, and everybody's like, but hey, you remember when you lost to Nystrom?
My goodness. My goodness. I'm going to tell you right now, you entitled millennial. I will see you October 26th at PWR Presents Haunted Havoc, and we can deal with it then.
We can do. I mean, why wait? We could deal with it tomorrow. I'm free. I actually no. I got work. Let me stop. Work not gonna be fan of that. I gotta pay those bills.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you do. Just finding another way to skip
Paying the
around and skip
bills.
out of a match with me. I see how it is.
Out. I mean, I have a job. I say that about a lot of people, but I actually have a real job. Like.
Oh, okay. I see where you're at.
Like PWR aren't really paying the bills right now, but it will. It will.
Oh my goodness. Well, either way, I'm gonna see you there October 26th in Daytona Beach. If you're a real man, you'll show up, answer the call.
October 26th at the Volution Ball next to Mr. Hottenbox.
Yeah, don't go over there to Dunderbox eating sandwiches and drinking beer. I want you in the ring, seeing me eye to eye. In my good eye, though. Good eye.
Around you.
Look, you're so entitled. You ain't even got good technology. You're cutting in and out. We can't even hear half of you. I mean, are you really notable? Do we really have to mention you? Have you won anything outside of one little pinfall thanks to a crooked ref that you probably paid off? Let's be honest here.
I didn't win the triple threat, but I was in a triple threat with Shane Evans, who's a legend who's a way bigger legend than you'll ever be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And where's he at these days? Working for me.
I had pinfall victories on him. I had pinfall victories on a lot of people.
Yeah. Well,
pinfall victory on is Alex Zane, but he's too scared to face me.
Oh, I don't think Alex Zane's too scared. I think you just can't pay him enough. So at the end of the day, though, if you want to come see Chris Carnage, you can find me at the Volusia Mall October 26th.
I'll be there. Now, I got things to take care of. You have fun with this little podcast thing, and I can see the rate through the roof. Join this.
Oh my gosh, this entitled millennial! I swear. See, look at that. You can't even hear halfway. He just jumps off, pops in and out. Look at this guy. So ridiculous.
How about that?
And leave it to the entitled millennial to just come in and invade this very awesome show that we've been having, and just
what can you do?
In. My gosh,
what can you do?
It's okay. I'll handle him October 26th at the Volusia Mall.
No doubt. Sounds like it's definitely going to be a clash not to be missed.
Absolutely, because that's all Carnage does is put on master classes. So when he's ready, I'll be there.
So, knowing everything that you know now, Chris, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Take it easy, one step at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Because that was one problem I had when I was younger, is I was always trying to find ways to get over, and it resulted in me doing probably some incredibly dumb things, including taking a powerbomb off the top rope through 2 open chairs. So,
well, yeah.
That being said, I would tell my younger self, just take it easy. It's okay. You're gonna get there. What you can do will shine through.
Absolutely. Speed round. Becky Lynch.
One of the 4 horsewomen. She is a pioneer under herself and one of the greatest Irish wrestlers I've ever seen. So absolutely fantastic what she's done, and to be able to pull off the man gimmick.
Oh yeah. Not many women could pull off the man.
No, definitely not.
So do you have any advice for any young folks that might be looking to break into the business?
oof, find a reputable wrestling school, put in your work, don't sell yourself short, shoot for the stars. Thing is, you can only achieve your dreams if you put the work in. And if you don't put in the work, don't expect things to be handed to you, because that's not how the industry works. It will chew you up, it will spit you out. So put in the work, learn as much as you can, be a sponge, because and then take everything you learn and apply it. And most of all, be humble.
Absolutely. Wise words. So, do you have a favorite move, something you just really enjoy doing? And on the flip side of that, is there a move that you won't do or you would at least rather not do? And that can be giving or receiving.
So I have a move I do that I love to give. I call it the deluxe. It is a pump handle throw over flapjack, and I was inspired by this move actually from Goldberg. He did it a couple times back in '98, and it's a really fun move, and it always looks great. However, I for some reason have a fascination with taking Canadian destroyers. To the point where I remember years and years ago, I just for fun took 16 Canadians in a row just to make sure I could get it down right. And
Wow.
yeah, I don't know why. The move is just amazing looking to me. I can't give them for anything, but I can take them all day. So it was always a fun move to take. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of my size. I'm just like, oh, a big guy my size shouldn't be taking this. Outside of that, I always enjoyed giving the F5. Was always a fun one to give, and as long as people took it correctly, because I have out of all the F5s I've done, do have one time someone did get injured, which I've had a good track record that he is the only injury I have ever caused had in the ring with me giving a move, and it's because he tried to take it funny, landed on his shoulder, and tore his rotator cuff. But I always tell guys, listen, just post off the shoulder, I'll throw you, everything will be good, and it'll look fantastic every single time. So,
Yep.
But yeah. Outside of that, a lot of them are crazy things that Alex Zane can do that I cannot, and all of them are flip related. And it's always fantastic to watch flippers do what they do, especially another good friend of me and Alex Zane's, the Chad, aka Ty Hill, who's the king of the 630. And at the show when I made my comeback back in May, he did a double springboard 630 to the outside through a table, and it was absolutely fantastic and blew up on social media to the point Kenny Omega even shared it. So it was just crazy. I love watching flippers.
Absolutely. You know, a move that I love to watch because to me it just always looks so cool is the Spanish Fly.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, and you know, I would imagine to really pull that off, there has to be a lot of cooperation going on between the
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's yeah.
Yeah, the Spanish Fly is one heck of a move to give or take. And that's the thing too, and that's why I always like to plan matches, especially when you have moves like that, just because you got it safety. You know, I always want to make sure both guys go home at the end of the day.
Oh, for sure. And you know, a move that always just looks utterly terrifying to me, and you really don't see it much anymore because most places have banned it, is the vertebreaker. I mean, that, you know, that just looks like a recipe for disaster.
I actually took the vertebreaker once, only once, and it's actually one of the few moves I will never take again. Because when I took it, I mean, he did it very safely. Everything was good. The bump was good, but it was very, very scary going through the setup and not knowing how things were necessarily going to turn out at the end. And I've seen that move go very, very wrong. And that's a scary one.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last time I saw it in ring, I think not terribly long ago, Cody Rhodes did it to somebody. And you know, I always just cringe when I see the setup for that, and I'm just like, oh God, please don't let anybody die.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not lying. That it's so sketch, and so many guys give it differently too, which I always thought was kind of weird. There's no like set way of giving that. I think I could think of 3 or 4 ways, and it's scary. It's really scary. But that's what, one thing I was always taught in my training was, once you take a guy off his feet, his life is in your hands. So,
Mhm.
I always felt that was too sketch. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just a reminder to everybody, if you have questions or comments, put them in the chat and we will get to them at the end. So do you have any pre-match traditions, rituals, superstitions, anything that you try to do consistently before you go through the curtain?
so I do have a process to getting in gear, getting in the mindset. And it actually all starts with this bracelet. Funny enough, I have had this bracelet for a number of years. I've never taken it off. It only comes off for my matches. And it is for men's mental health awareness. And it's something I always keep in mind, given, obviously the ongoing issues when it comes to CTE and wrestling, as well as football and other sports. So that thing comes off and it sits in front of me as I get ready. And I put everything on. I get everything on. The last thing I do is I put my wrist tape on. I put it on a certain way because I really try and reinforce this wrist and fist, for whooping. And I cap it off with a bottle of water over the head, and I just get in my mindset. And when I hear my music hit, there's a little bit of an intro that just sets everything right, and then I hit that curtain.
Got you. So something that we've done in all of these that's just been kind of fun is we've let the current guest pose a question for the next guest. And so last night, I had a wrestler by the name of Edward Draven, who he wrestles up here in the Atlanta area.
Mm-hmm.
And he posed this question, and that is, would you rather be over with a gimmick that you hate or be doing a gimmick that you love that is not getting over?
That's a good one. My goodness. And there's a lot of guys I know who've been forced in that kind of position on either side. Oh my gosh. I mean, my biggest thing is I like to be over, and I'm a pretty flexible individual. So I guess I would say I would take a gimmick I hate as long as I'm over.
Gotcha. And, since this is part of a series, do you have a question that you would like to pose to the next guest?
Oof. Oh, I gotta think about that.
If you don't have anything right now, you can always get back to me.
I might have to, because that's what I might have to think about.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just feel free to DM me or whatever. I've got another live stream tomorrow night. But I can always.
I do have one. Actually, now that I think about it, I do have one.
What you got?
What was the inspiration for the finisher you currently use?
Oh, nice. And how would you answer that?
My answer for that, again, I use 2 moves, actually. I use the F5, which I've used pretty much my entire career, and that's real obvious. Big Lesnar influence, and really nobody uses the F5, so outside of him. So I always really loved doing that. I have another one though called the Carnage driver that I used as I think as early as 2009, 2010. That actually is now Jordan Grace's finisher, where it is the half Nelson pump handle driver. So I can't say I innovated it, but at least it's being used.
Gotcha. A finisher that I've seen recently that I've really been digging, a guy over in TNA, Jake something, has this finisher called Into the Void. that I just think looks really cool. I don't know if you've seen it or if you're familiar with it, but it is a cool finisher.
You have piqued my curiosity. I have to look it up now because I feel like at this point in wrestling, I've seen just about everything that can be done. 18 years in. So let's see. Into the Void. Let's see here. I got to see this. Jake something. Where is it? See that move. Oh, here we go. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of what Baron Corbin used to do. Or
But
the end of days.
I feel like he puts a little more nasty on it. I mean,
yeah, he put some mustard on that thing. I tell you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he basically kind of took Corbin's finisher, but put a little more oomph to it.
Yeah, he put a little stank on it.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you have any upcoming shows or anything at all that you'd like to give some hype to?
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. October 26th, my promotion, PWR Pro Wrestling Rebellion, will be at the Volusia Mall next to Dunderbox, 4 p.m. start time, featuring the PWR Heavyweight Championship Tournament. I will be there making a huge announcement, as well as facilitating the show itself. Outside of that, we also have November 9th, same location, Riot Pro Wrestling will be coming to town. So I'll be doing that as well. But as of right now, with the injury, I sadly had to cancel all of my actual wrestling dates until December, which I only have in December Riot, PWR, and possibly a DCCW show, but there'll be more released on that on social.
Nice. Let's see here. I'm starting to look at the chat here. We've got a lot of folks here. Looks like we've got some Pokemon related stuff going on.
Oh, that may or may not be flowing over from my stuff.
Okay. Let's see here. Rob Kaiser is saying you're the man.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, we've definitely got a lot of Pokemon stuff here.
Yeah, that might be flowing over from my Twitch.
We've got Michael Brace.
Not Mike Brace. I played football with that guy. Good guy.
Let's see here. What else we got? Okay. First move, Spartan kick.
I've definitely delivered a few Spartan kicks in my day, most notably during the Riot Hardcore Invitational, because I actually was at ringside as cameraman and then was thrust into the match by our very heel GM, Mr. Showtime, and didn't know I was going to wrestle. So I had to come in with the camera and start Spartan kicking everybody. So until I was able to hand off the camera.
He also says that he knows what you would say to his younger self.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you probably would. I've known that man over 20 years. Oh, that's funny.
See here. The Beholder says he wanted to stop in, been busy working the tree hurricane damage and back in town. Hope to see y'all soon.
Absolutely. You take care of yourself, brother.
And let's see here. Okay, so that's that. I'm gonna look over at the Instagram tab and see if we got any questions over there. Okay. Yobila Demon says, "What is your favorite tag team?"
My favorite tag team. Oof. I'm not gonna lie. I was always very, very partial to Team 3D. Having also at one point been able to go down for a week or two and train with the Dudleys at the 3D Academy.
Oh, nice.
Yes, absolutely amazing, knowledgeable men, and they were fantastic. Always a great tag team, and had done so much for tag team wrestling. I feel like for all the promotions.
My wonderful and lovely wife Julia, who is helping moderate the chat on Instagram, says, "How difficult is it for you to turn off the in-ring persona and go back to your true personality?"
See, it's a build up to get into character, you know, and it's all done through my preparation for the match. But once the match is over and I hit curtains, it's a light switch for me. Literally just a light switch.
Gotcha. My son Zach, who he's a sophomore in high school and
nice.
and a lacrosse player.
Hey.
He says, with you being a fan of football, who is your favorite NFL team?
Oh, we could talk all day about this. NFL is Philadelphia Eagles. I've been a lifelong Eagles fan. Had a family up there from Palmyra, New Jersey, so we were always huge football fans. And I have been through thick and thin with that team, and it finally culminated in a Super Bowl. So I was very happy with that. Now, this year has been a little questionable, but, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, we're 3-2, so, you know, I'll take it.
My wife is actually a graduate of the University of Alabama, so we're Jalen Hurts fans because of that, and you know, so I've become an Eagles fan by virtue of being a Hurts fan. So
hey, can't go wrong with that. I'll take it. Got a spot right here for you with the cheesesteak.
Yeah. And Brady Gibson Photography says, "Wow, what a mark!"
Yeah, that Brady Gibson Photography, the multimedia service for PWR, does a great, fantastic work. And guess what, brother? You're the mark. You only just learned how to back bump.
And he also says, "Don't I have video of some no-named guy suplexing this tool?"
Oh, I know he's talking about that entitled millennial again. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow. Oh, and he's talking more smack about Forrest. He says lights must be off. Pay that bill, boy.
That's what I'm talking about.
And he says, "Wait, did we book him for the 26th? I thought we passed on him."
I mean, he's talking smack. I got to bring him in and talk more smack. So,
oh, for sure. Oh, and then he says, "Don't we have a ring at my house? Couldn't we settle this right now?"
I mean, we could.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. And he does have one final question for you, and that is, what does the future of PWR hold?
I hope for it to be a platform for guys to really come and showcase themselves. I feel like one issue in the indie scene nowadays, especially being in Florida because of how flooded it is that everything's more so about just getting you in, putting over the promotion, putting over what they're trying to do in their angles, and not allowing a talent to come in and really showcase what they can do. I don't want to hold guys back. I don't want guys to feel like they have to walk eggshells. I want them to be able to go out, put on a fantastic match to the level that they can do, and be able to go home and feel proud about what they've been able to put out there for the fans.
That is cool. That's what an indie company should be.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and a rising tide lifts all ships. And, you know, the more places there are for guys to work and hone their craft, the better for the industry in general. So, I applaud you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Cool. Very, very cool.
You know, it was just one
And
thing I had always hoped to be able to have when I was coming up through the ranks, and it wasn't always available. So, you know, I feel like if there was more places like that, it would, like you said, rising tide raises all ships. So if I can help elevate a guy and get him to where he wants to go, then I feel like I've done something to help give back to this industry.
Absolutely. So as far as what's coming up, tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m., I've got a guy who is a veteran of both. Well, he's a veteran of a lot of places, but chiefly he's been in TNA and the NWA, and that is the outlandish Zicky Dice. So he's coming on tomorrow, and then Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, I've got money making Che Guzman. And then I've got a number of other bookings coming up, and you know those will be getting announced on my socials. So you know, stay tuned. There's a lot of good stuff coming down the pike, and I'm just having a blast being along for the ride on this.
Hey, you're killing it, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know, for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be seeing this on replays, thank you for that. If you like what we have going, please spread the word. You know, follow me on my socials, leave comments, all that good stuff. You know, that's going to do nothing but help this to continue to grow. And Chris, I want to thank you for your time. This has been a blast. You know, I love this stuff, and I love nerding out about it with like-minded people.
Absolutely.
And, you know, consider yourself as having a standing invitation anytime you want to come back. You're part of the Throwdown family now. So, you know, this is great. And, you know, hopefully we can collaborate again in the future.
Absolutely. I would love that. I've had a wonderful time, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. And like I said, everybody, I will be back tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern with Zicky Dice. Everybody have a great night. Be safe. Love each other. And